Hey, welcome back everyone. Got a jam-packed Apple news and leak session for you today, including the new AirPods 3. The actual design has leaked via Apple, all but confirmed. We had some difficulty modeling that up, but finally got it and rendered that up for you. Not so bad actually. Got the iPhone SE 2 and some fresh details on that, and it's definitely not what we thought it would be, but still will be, I think, a fairly unique device coming in 2020. Some future Apple tech, the new iPad Pros, and more. Wanted to say sorry, I'm a little bit behind on some videos here. We've been working on the case, trying to release that by end of year. Working on the website for pre-orders right now, and I'll have more info on that soon. Anyways, starting with AirPods 3. So this actually leaked in iOS 13.2, the first beta. A glyph was found in the accessibility section in regards to a new focus mode, and we'll talk about that in a second, but the actual design is directly correlated to an earlier leak from SlashLeaks. You can say that these are one in one, look very similar. I actually commented earlier about that leak from SlashLeaks that the case looks very reminiscent of Apple's, that it actually has the same LED placement in the front, a very similar looking hinge in the back, and actually rendering that up, you can see that the similarities certainly are there, very close in design to AirPods 2. Now, as for the actual AirPods, they're shorter, they feature a shorter stem, and they're an in-ear headphone. That was rumored that Apple has been focusing primarily on sound for the upcoming AirPods. I'd say the design is a blend of the Beats in-ear headphones combined with current AirPods. So it is an in-ear headphone, but I'm sure that Apple will do it fairly well. Personally, I've never liked in-ear headphones, and my opinion may be changed with this one. It's a very beefy design, just that inner ear part. The stem is actually shorter, and I do like that. And the design overall will look very similar to AirPods. It'll likely have that silver portion on the bottom for charging, the left-right labels. And one thing I noticed is that the actual proximity sensor is now built into the exhaust port on the side. So that's a nice little cleanup of the design. But there is an additional sensor which could in part be for some sort of health sensor. Details are scarce. I mean, we only have that glyph in that prototype casing, but we were able to determine the final design from this, and I personally don't think it looks so bad. The new Microsoft Surface earbuds look way worse in my opinion, like someone stuck a coin in your ear. In comparison to that, these look pretty dang good to me. Now, in conjunction to that glyph, Mac Rumors also found reference to a new focus mode, which is probably a beefed up version of Live Listen. It's like hearing aids, but using your AirPods instead. And these are in-ear headphones, so it's understandable why Apple would dedicate a certain mode to that now. Now, what else do we know about these upcoming AirPods? Before AirPods 2 were even announced, there were a ton of rumors and leaks regarding some features coming to those, but then they were pushed back to a future version of AirPods, which we're now going to be seeing. One of those rumors being a matte black coating. So Apple could finally be giving the AirPods a new finish. Part of their distinguishing factor was the fact that they were white. Everyone knew right away those were AirPods. But now with the black, I guess it won't stand out as much. I certainly think it's long overdue for a matte black option. That'll be very cool. Easier to keep clean, I think. Also, a very big one is water resistance. The new iPhone is incredibly water resistant. Why not make the AirPods as well? And this will likely be some form of splash resistance. You don't need to swim with your AirPods, so I don't see why waterproofing would necessarily be important, but splash resistance would be sweat resistance. Currently, the AirPods are not officially rated at all, but they seem to handle it fairly well. So Apple will be expanding upon that with these upcoming AirPods 3. And a biometric sensor. It's long been talked about that Apple will be adding some sort of health monitoring to the AirPods. They've been focusing on it extensively with the Apple Watch. It only makes sense. And that sensor could be a PPG sensor, a blood flow sensor. Recent patent filing indicates that Apple is working on adding this to the AirPods, and that could be what that little sensor is on the inner ear part. So Apple is working extensively to add a ton of features to these to make it worth your while. They will likely be more expensive at $249 to $300 over AirPods 2, with a release date potentially being announced in October and a release date by end of year. That's what many of the leaks have been saying. And I thought it was funny that ESR is already planning a sleeve for the AirPods 3. These companies, I've noticed that it's been a recent trend here, design a case for an unreleased product, build hype, and then when it comes out, people already know that you're working on something for it. It's just free marketing. And a few more concepts of the AirPods 3, one from Phone Industry, which imagines these AirPods in several different colors. The one little design thing that I'm seeing from concept to concept is no one really knows how the connection between the stem and the actual in-ear part will work. So some of them have this weird distorted, stretched design. And as been proven time and time again, Apple always makes it end up looking way better, like the iPhone 11 Pro lenses with that bold design. It ended up looking way better than any of the concepts we released. And next up, the iPhone SE 2 has been detailed by Ming-Chi Kuo. This long-awaited, long-hyped device is actually real, but it won't be as exciting as you think. So it will be a smaller iPhone, but it'll be a 4.7-inch iPhone-like design. In fact, Apple will likely copy most of the design from the iPhone 8, although he didn't say it would be a carbon copy. Most, if not all of the changes are happening internally. This is a budget-end device. I don't think that Apple wants to spend too much time on R&D and just making it its own special thing. Much like the original iPhone SE recycled parts and the chassis from the iPhone 5S, this will likely be the same thing. So we'll see some internal differences. He's saying we'll see the Apple A13 and 3 gigabytes of RAM, which is adequate for a device this small. And he believes we'll see 30 to 40 million units shipped in 2020, meaning that there's a considerable amount of people holding out for a cheaper iPhone, a smaller iPhone, and this could be it, coming Q1 of 2020. So our design imagines a fresh take on the iPhone 8. Of course, I highly doubt that Apple would do something like this, give it its own little platform on the lens similar to the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro. I just thought it would be cool to mimic that style. I do hope that they center the Apple logo, but again, they don't have to. I feel like they did that on the new ones in part because of how big the lens was and they wanted to take some attention away from that with that logo placement, although I do think it would look cool on a device this small. Also, a matte back is of course unlikely, as Apple is saving that for their premium devices. So gloss will likely be the finish, although a matte one would look pretty cool here. And like the original SE, I'm assuming that Apple will be adding at least one special edition color to entice some people to upgrade from older iPhones. Ming-Chi Kuo is saying that the main upgrade focus group here is iPhone 6 owners, people that are not enticed by the full screen design of the iPhone 10 and newer devices that's still like a home button, Touch ID. So they're the ones that will be upgrading to the new iPhone SE. Likely to be priced, 9 to 5 Mac estimates, roughly about $350 to $399 in a 32 gigabyte configuration. And looking towards the future of the iPhone, Apple is working extensively on removing the iPhone notch, and now there's an exciting new patent showing us in which method they'd be doing this. It's very complex. I'll try and explain it how I understood it. But essentially, the notch would still be there. It would just be hidden beneath the layer of OLED pixels, and Apple will be using color filters to allow the True Depth camera system to work through those pixels when they're not in an emissive state, meaning that they'll be turning black when you're using the camera. You'll still have a little mini notch up there, or potentially just little circle black cutouts when the camera is in use. When it's not in use, those will go back to an active state and you'll have that full screen display. Now, how soon this will be coming to your iPhone, it's very unlikely it'll be next year, in 2020. We've heard many rumors saying that Apple is switching to a smaller notch style, and as we know, Apple has a 3-year cycle now, 3 years of the same design, so we would be seeing a notchless iPhone as soon as 2023. Even Vanya Geskin agrees 20% is how likely Apple will be going notchless in 2020. A bit disappointing to hear, but this technology cannot be rushed if you want it to be perfect. And seeing as how many other Android competitors are still battling with the notches, I don't think Apple is in a hurry here. They're probably going to take their time and release when ready. And of course, nickel and dime you along the way. And the cool thing about that tech is that it would allow Touch ID to work on the display in the very same manner. And in a separate report, Ming-Chi Kuo is also predicting that Apple will be releasing their first mini LED displays on an iPad and a MacBook as soon as the end of next year, Q3 of 2020 or Q1 of 2021. So that display technology will have been improved. They're using it first on the Pro XDR display, which only has 576 of these mini LEDs. The upcoming iPad or MacBook display will have as many as 10,000. So Apple is slowly perfecting it before adding it to the iPhone, and it's exciting to see that we're not that far away from this tech. Now, before we see that mini LED iPad at the end of 2020, we'll be seeing a refresh with that triple lens camera this month likely, and Mac Rumors actually obtained a dummy model from Sonny Dixon, and they shared with us what that could look like. The actual orientation of the lenses is not the same as the iPhone 11 Pro. I'd like it to have been, although this doesn't look terrible. It does have a different border, so it could be that there's a good reason why Apple didn't arrange it in the same way. Then again, this might not even be accurate. I would love to see a midnight green version of the new iPad as well. And I never thought this would be possible again, but you can run, theoretically, Android on the iPhone 10, 8, 7, and older series, all those new iPhones with the recent boot ROM exploit by Axiom X. Now, someone would have to make drivers and make it all compatible, but you could install Android on these devices thanks to an unlocked bootloader now. That blows my mind. I've done that before with the 2G and 3G on this channel using iDroid. Now it could theoretically be possible, and I'm sure someone will do it, on the iPhone 10. I'd love to see that. Another super cool thing you can do because of that boot ROM exploit is verbose boot on the latest iOS 13 firmwares on the iPhone 10, and that's just such a cool process to see the inner workings of the iPhone. It blows my mind that these iPhones will be jailbreakable for life, and we'll continue to see all the latest iOS firmwares being jailbroken on these devices. But okay guys, that's the latest collection. We've got AirPods 3, the new iPhone SE 2, and more products coming at this October event. I'll be keeping you updated on any more details. Stay tuned. Peace.